Hi everyone, my name is Aaron and welcome back to my channel. Boy, things are getting hot and spicy here in Clearwater. The Scientologists tried to get rid of Mark Bunker this week, and I'm here to talk about it. So here's what's going on. Mark Bunker is one of 5 members of Clearwater City Council. That's Clearwater, Florida, for anybody new to the channel. I should note for the record, there are no Scientologists on Clearwater City Council. I'll explain a bit more about that later. For the last 30 plus years, the Clearwater City Council has assigned 2 of its members to also serve as non-voting members on another Clearwater board called the Downtown Development Board, or the DDB. Now, the only particularly interesting thing about the DDB is that it is run by Scientologists. By taking over this board, the Scientologists haven't accomplished anything meaningful. The only role of the DDB is to specify how a relatively small and very specific bucket of tax money is spent. There's an extra property tax assessed to properties in downtown Clearwater, and that tax money goes into a fund that can only be spent to promote business in Clearwater's downtown district. That is literally the only reason the DDB exists. The budget the DDB is responsible for is only a few $100,000 per year. And this is all pretty unimportant and uninteresting beyond the somewhat unbelievable irony that Scientology is the only reason people stay away from downtown Clearwater. And yet the board responsible for promoting business in downtown Clearwater is run by and dominated by Scientologists. It's pretty lame if you ask me, but hey, the Scientologists need to take wins wherever they can get them these days. The DDB, however, does get more interesting once you realize that once Mark Bunker was sworn in as a Clearwater City Council member last year, that this board of high-level OT Scientologists was in imminent danger of being invaded by one of the biggest and baddest SPs in all of Scientology's galactic confederacy. So once Mark was sworn in as a Clearwater City Council member, he did ask to be one of the 2 council members assigned to attend the monthly meetings of the DDB. And the Scientologists were outraged. They were not going to let this happen without a fight. Check out this footage of these Scientologists begging the Clearwater City Council not to approve Mark's request to be assigned to the DDB.
I'm Keenan Kinsel and a DDB board member. Mr. Bunker is a new city resident and council member. Having this bigot sit in at the DDB meetings would be similar to having David Duke sit in at an NAACP conference.
My name is Morfopoulos. I'm a resident of Clearwater and a chairman of the Clearwater Downtown Development Board. Mr. Bunker is a professional bigot. We could take action as a board and remove him if we are forced to, but there's no ordinance that requires us to have an ex officio member.
My name is Raymond Casano. This man should not be on the same committee with us. There's 4 Scientologists on the board. This guy's vehemently and strongly anti-Scientology.
My name is Shahab Imrani. I was born and raised as a Jew. If someone started screaming at me as a Jew, you're dirty, you're a liar, I would be shocked.
I'm Steve Anderson. I'm the CEO of Autoloop. I'm not saying that he's going to go out there and start yelling at people in the streets. I hope he's not, but it is what he's bringing back to this community.
My name is Stu Showerman. I am the founder of a local high-tech company. Frankly, having Mr. Bunker as a DDB ex officio member would be a disaster.
Good evening. My name is Brett Miller. Clearwater has just come through an election where several candidates targeted Scientologists as a community with derogatory comments to win votes. In any other city in America, these attacks would be viewed as what they are, an attack on civil liberties and First Amendment freedoms. It's only a handful of zealots, self-appointed elites, and a struggling newspaper has created this situation in our city.
Despite the desperate pleas of these lying Scientologists, the Clearwater City Council still voted unanimously to assign Mark Bunker to the DDB.
Mayor, I would like to make a motion that we appoint yourself and Mr. Bunker as ex officio members to the DDB.
I have a second from Councilmember Albritton. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. It passes unanimously.
So that meeting was 1 year ago, and ever since then, the Scientologists have been trying to figure out what to do about Mark Bunker. The first thing they did was to adopt a resolution that would prevent Mark Bunker from discussing Scientology at their meetings. So at a Clearwater City Council meeting, any member of the public can speak on any topic for 3 minutes. At a particular portion of the meeting, there's a section where anybody can say anything. And until recently, that was also true for the DDB meetings. In fact, before Mark Bunker was elected to the city council, he would sometimes attend the DDB meetings and take the opportunity at that applicable part of the meeting, where anybody can say anything, to voice his concerns about Scientology's negative impact on downtown Clearwater. Well, once Mark Bunker became an actual city council member, assigned as a non-voting member to the DDB, these guys were terrified that Mark would use his new platform to keep discussing his concerns about Scientology in their presence. So the DDB, with the help of their evil, wicked step lawyer, Elise Winters, did some research. And they found that they could get away with adopting a rule that you could only speak at DDB meetings about things which were both on topic and about things with which the DDB actually had the power to do something about. Since Scientology is never a topic that's on the agenda at a DDB meeting, and since the DDB doesn't have the authority or the ability to do anything about Scientology, that means nobody could ever talk about Scientology at a DDB meeting. This meant they could shut down anyone who tried to discuss Scientology in their presence. In fact, here's a real example of a citizen accidentally walking into this trap at a DDB meeting. Not only did she, of course, not know about the rule that had been adopted, but she also had no idea she was speaking to a group of Scientologists. Check it out.
I'm Holly Thompson. So my general feel for the community is I meet people from all over the states. On average, I would say I probably talk to between 4, 5, 10,000 people a week on our busy weeks. So I hear a lot of different opinions from all over the place, especially from our community members and visitors. And what I'm hearing from the majority of the community is people are seeing the businesses in the downtown area not as local support, but as families within Scientology that have been buying a commercial property. They don't see the downtown area as supporting local business. They see it as supporting the church. You know, it's not, I know people in Scientology that are, you know, doing really well. It's changed their lives. At this point, I think it's really a perception.
Hey,
that
Holly, I'm going to have to interrupt you there. The topic we're on is this this work plan that we're planning to implement.
Right.
This is not a discussion on public perception of Scientology. It's specifically on the fiscal year 2021 work plan. So if you have comments related to that, you can give them. But
I was just hearing funding for art galleries and events and all these things that we're trying to get people downtown to be involved in. So I understand I might was a little off topic with that, but I think it is important to see if we're going to be putting money into all of these different things, what perceptions people are having and what their involvement and what they want to be. I was just trying to help a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
What I find really interesting about this clip is that poor woman, she was actually speaking on topic. She wasn't there to rant about Scientology, and she wasn't ranting about Scientology. She was being quite fair. She was speaking about an actual concern about something that was on the agenda. But she made the mistake of speaking about Scientology in a partially negative way in front of this board of all-powerful Scientology OTs. And of course, they could not allow that to stand. By the way, I would hate for anybody to forget that this board is run by the one and only Paris Morfopoulos. Here's one of Paris's greatest hits. This is Paris Morfopoulos harassing Mark Bunker on a Clearwater sidewalk back in 2000.
Until you lose some weight, get the hell away from me, you know? Are you on your 50 Twinkie a day habit now, or what? If you can't control your eating habits, Mark, what about your sexual habits? Where do they run to? Small children? Huh? Animals? What is it, small barnyard animals? What does it for you? Little boys? I told you I don't want to be videotaped by you.
Then why approach me on a public street?
Because I want you to get the hell out of here.
Remember, boys and girls, never go full Morfopoulos. So the Scientologists weren't happy with merely preventing Mark Bunker from being able to talk about Scientology. They had to come up with a way to get Mark off of the DDB altogether. They were determined to confront and shatter Mark's suppression and to deliver an effective blow to the enemy. So once again, with the help of their wicked step lawyer, Elise Winters, they came up with one final option. They could simply ask the city council to change the rules that have been in place for over 30 years and ask the city council to please only send one representative to their meetings instead of 2, because it just isn't fair to the second council member who has nothing to do and nothing to say. This was an interesting way to go, not only because the Scientologists on the board had Elise Winters do all of the talking for them, and throughout all of it, Elise did her best to refuse that this had anything to do with Mark Bunker personally. It was really just out of concern for whoever it is that was stuck in that horrible position of being the second council member to attend. Unfortunately, Elise is not a very good lawyer, and she just could not help herself. She could not keep herself from continually mentioning certain aspects of Mark's behavior or personality while making this presentation, while continually asserting this actually had nothing to do with Mark Bunker. She really did try to claim this was just out of courtesy to the city council. I mean, At least she tried to. It was really, really bad. Here's how it went down. Check it out.
According to the minutes of the August 8th, 1987 council meeting, it was agreed at least one commissioner would be appointed as non-voting member of the DDB. The commission then appointed 2 members of the commission to sit on the DDB board as non-voting members. We don't know why they picked 2 instead of 1. There's nothing in there that indicates why. No reason why they should, but they did pick 2. During my term on the board, and I think pretty consistently thereafter, there have been 2 appointed. The appointees are not there as individuals. The appointees are there as representatives. These members are there to participate in their representative capacity. The problem is that if you have 2 appointees, one of them doesn't have much to do, because quite frankly, after the mayor makes his report, there's not much left in a representative capacity for Mr. Bunker to say. I've searched to find out a rationale for the 2, and I couldn't find it. When I was on the board, I always felt like we were wasting one commissioner's time. One of the arguments I've heard is, well, what if that commissioner can't show up? We don't have the communication problems that we used to have. Communication flows quite easily between the 2 groups. So if a meeting has to be missed, it's not an issue. To make sure that I was being fair and not playing personalities here, I had Sandy go back through the minutes and do a summary for me. And through no fault of his own, Mr. Bunker has made a maximum of 2 comments in his representative capacity. Not because he's being lax, but because it's already been said. And having 2 members, no matter who they are, puts the second member in that position. Resolution of the Clearwater Downtown Development Board of the City of Clearwater, Florida, requesting that the Clearwater City Council appoint 1 council member to serve as a non-voting member of the Clearwater Downtown Development Board, providing an effective date of this resolution.
Very good. Now, are there any questions from the board?
I have some questions. Going back 3-4 years, have we had more comments from other ex-official members? Have they ever expressed the situation where they felt they had nothing to say and their time's been wasted? Because I feel if they volunteered their time to be here, we shouldn't take it lightly, you know? So have you ever had any situations where they go, oh, I don't want to be here because I don't have anything to say?
Truly, it is a matter of why are we asking the commission to appoint 2 members? They have a few other things they can be doing. Why are we creating a situation where we have a mute member or a member who feels it's necessary to just bring in personal opinion, which is what has happened here, or personal comments rather than representative comments? What do you see as the advantage of having 2 members?
What's your disadvantage?
I'm asking, what is the advantage of having 2 members?
I'm asking what your disadvantage is.
The disadvantage? You have one person who has no real purpose.
And I'm asking, going back 2-3 years, has that been the case?
Yeah, having 2 members serves no real purpose.
And have they expressed that same idea that they don't want to be here because they have nothing to say? I mean,
I haven't asked.
Okay. Maybe we should.
Okay.
So the one question I had is, theoretically what would happen is, if this were to be approved, it would go to city council and then they would just pick who, because we keep referring to like Mr. Bunker's spot.
I'm sorry.
Sure. We keep referring to Mr. Bunker's spot, but the process would be it would go back to city council. City council would decide who to appoint in that position. So we don't know who would serve in the sole position.
That is correct. If they agree to appoint one, it is their choice who they pick.
But you assumed that the mayor would stay on and Mr. Bunker would be booted off. So if the city council decided, yes, we want Mr. Bunker to be the sole ex officio member and not the mayor, you would be happy with that?
It is not my decision.
Well, whose idea was this? Was this your idea to suddenly drop down to 1, or was it the board's idea? Did they come to you, or did you suggest it to them?
Actually, it was a discussion between staff and me.
Staff and you?
Yes.
No members of the board?
And I discussed it with the chair because the chair has to put it on the agenda.
Okay. But, just for sunshine laws, there was no
there was no discussion with any, well, actually, I'm allowed to discuss it with every single person on the board.
Sure.
As long as I don't tell them who else I've discussed it with.
Did you, or did you just?
No, I did not.
Okay. So did Paris bring it to you, or did you bring it to Paris?
I brought it to him.
Okay. Did Paris suggest that you search ways to get rid of Mr. Bunker?
No, because quite frankly, if that were the sole goal, we could just not accept ex officio members.
But I find it curious that since 1987 and through all the years that you served on the board, until now, you never had a problem with 2 ex officio members, but now you do. And Mr. Bunker, we're wasting his time. Let him go. So why are there any ex officio members? Why do we need any?
I don't believe at this point that we do when we're sharing staff, but I do believe that in the event that we stop sharing staff, it's good to have the system in place.
Okay, let's keep to the resolution that we're discussing and not other matters. We have a resolution that's been read out. I'd like to request a motion to adopt this resolution number 2102.
Yeah, I move the DDB requests that the City of Clearwater City Council appoint 1 council member to serve as ex officio non-voting member of the DDB at the next available meeting.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Keenan seconds. Okay, is there any discussion?
Sure. I have been prevented from saying the word Scientology since you last passed one of these resolutions, but I think it's
Mr. Bunker,
important
Mr.
to have
Bunker,
it on the record that really this is
right
about
Mr. Bunker,
Scientology.
you're out of order. We're talking about the resolution before us. We're not talking about Scientology. Restrict your comments to the issue we're discussing.
That's the subtext.
Okay, so
It's a subterfuge.
There's a resolution before us. You can either keep your comments to it or don't make any. Okay, so.
I'd like to just make,
Caitlin?
it's more of an inquiry, but one thing that I know we've always kind of wanted to maintain is a good working relationship with City Council, and I'd be curious if there would be any appearance going from 2 to 1. Is that creating an issue in terms of the relationship between DDB and City Council? And I'd be interested if the mayor, if you have any kind of optic issues with that, or no. The answer would be no.
Well, I think there's going to obviously be optics now because there's going to be questions about motivation. But it will be a discussion that we'll have amongst ourselves and make a determination as to what we think is best for both the city and the DDB. And we'll either accept your resolution or we won't. So
That's all we can ask.
Yep.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, I'm going to call it for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And opposed? So it's 5 versus 1.
I'm deeply touched by Elisa's concern about wasting my time. And there's as much sincerity in that comment as I believe there is in your excuse for creating this.
Now, I don't think anyone on Clearwater City Council or anyone in the city staff are actually fooled by what the Scientologist members of the DDB and what Elise Winters here, who is in the pocket of Scientology, are trying to do. I really don't think the city council has the appetite or the patience to put up with this kind of childish nonsense. I think Elise has really tarnished whatever reputation she may have had by contributing to this subterfuge, as Mark Bunker referred to it. And I think Paris Morfopoulos and the other Scientologist members of the DDB have further embarrassed themselves by showing everyone that they are in fact the exact type of bigot that they keep accusing Mark Bunker of being. I expect the Clearwater City Council will completely reject this request from the DDB, and when they do, I will definitely post an update. I personally cannot wait to hear what the Clearwater City Council members have to say about this little charade. So that brings me back to something I actually said in the beginning of the video, that there are no Scientologists on Clearwater City Council, and that I would explain that a little bit more. Not only are there no Scientologists on Clearwater City Council, but there in fact never has been. Not only that, a Scientologist has never even attempted to run for a seat on Clearwater City Council. The reason for that is there are only about 600 Scientologists who actually live here and who are US citizens. So Scientology can only get about 600 people to the polls to vote for anything in Clearwater. And also Scientologists understand that Scientology PR in Clearwater is so god-awful that anybody affiliated with Scientology in any way has a 0% chance of winning a citywide election for anything. Scientologists know that if they ran one of their own members and lost, I mean, much less just got absolutely defeated, it would show that they are lying when they say there's 15,000 Scientologists living in Clearwater. That is how many people Scientology says live in Clearwater. And they know there's no way for someone outside of Scientology to prove or disprove that, except in the last election, we were able to prove they could only get about 600 people to the polls. And anyone who grew up in Scientology or has lived in Scientology in Clearwater knows there's 2,500 people here max, and that includes the 1,500 Sea Org members, most of which are foreigners and can't vote. So Scientologists in Clearwater stay far, far away from running for anything that involves a city-wide election. This is why they couldn't keep Mark Bunker from being elected to city council last year. And it's why they won't be able to prevent me from being elected to city council next year. Of course, it's possible that somebody could beat me in the election, but it sure as hell won't be a Scientologist. And if I lose, it won't be because of anything Scientology does, that's for sure. So maybe you're wondering, well, okay, fine, if all of that is true, then how did the Scientologists take over the Downtown Development Board? The answer to that is that, as the name of the board implies, the Downtown Development Board, you can only vote in the DDB elections if you actually own property in downtown Clearwater. And downtown is a precisely defined geographic area. There's only about 900 properties in the downtown district, so there's only even 900 possible votes. And once you remove the city-owned properties and the county-owned properties and some nonprofit-owned properties, there's actually only 700 eligible votes, maximum. And voter turnout in the DDB elections is quite poor, as it is really in any election. And so at the end of the day, in these DDB elections, only about 400 votes are even cast. And Scientology, like the official Church of Scientology, and some high-level Scientologists control well over half of the votes that get cast to fill the seats of the DDB. And so what's remarkable isn't that this board is dominated by Scientologists. What's remarkable is that all of the seats aren't filled with Scientologists. There's in fact still one seat that's filled by a non-Scientologist. But, you know, pretty soon that seat will probably be filled with a Scientologist as well. So because the DDB became, back in 2019, the first elected board in Clearwater to ever have a majority of Scientologists on it, and because the Tampa Bay Times wrote about this, and because most people only read headlines and not full articles, and because most people have no idea what the Downtown Development Board is anyway, there has become a broad misunderstanding that the Clearwater City Council itself is run by Scientologists or has a majority of Scientologists on it. And that is just not true. Clearwater is not run or controlled by Scientology. In fact, the reality is even downtown Clearwater isn't run or controlled by Scientology. And one of the reasons I'll be running for city council later this year is to keep making it clear to everyone how little influence this desperate, failing organization really has in Clearwater, despite any appearances to the contrary. And I absolutely guarantee you, not one of these stooges that you saw in this video representing Scientology's agenda will have the balls to run against me. You will not see any of these guys actually put their name and reputation on the line to run for office in Clearwater. Not Paris Morfopoulos, Ray Castano, Stu Showerman, Brett Miller, Shahab Amrani, Steve Anderson, Keenan Kinsel. No one, not a single one of them, nor any of their attorneys will have the balls to run against me for city council. And in the exciting event that one of them actually does, you are going to see just how much the citizens of Clearwater absolutely detest Scientology. The people of Clearwater get it. The people of Clearwater understand that Scientology's agenda is directly contrary to anything that is good for Clearwater or good for downtown Clearwater. The people do understand. The people are sick and tired of politicians who seem afraid to step up and call out Scientology and their behavior for what it really is. Directly destructive to Clearwater. Well, that's exactly why Mark Bunker is on the council. That is exactly why I will be running for the council. And we're going to keep showing everyone that Scientology does not have nearly the power or the influence they want you to believe that they do. And there's not a goddamn thing they can do to prevent the council from being taken over by people who really do understand what Scientology is, what they're all about, and what they're doing, and who aren't afraid to call them out for it, and not just call them out, to do something about it. So stay tuned to this channel for all the excitement and the action. All right, well, that's all I've got. For all of you who actually watched until the very end, thank you very much. Thank you for watching. If you like these videos, please give me a like down below, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe right here. Bye.